In today's video, we're checking out the Fujifilm 23mm f1.4 prime lens. I've had a chance to test this out over the last few weeks. Let's see what I can do. Welcome back to the channel, folks. My name's Shane. In today's video, we're doing a full review and breakdown of the 23mm f1.4 lens from Fuji. Now this, I had a chance to use it on their X-T4 camera, which I'm currently shooting this video with as well, with a lens very similar to this. Stay tuned if you're into cinema lenses. We're going to get into these as well. Now this video is not going to be overly technical, but what I will cover is all the stuff that I liked about it, some of the things that I didn't like about it if there were those comments, and just the overall functionality, usability for someone who's going to be shooting video. Firstly, a massive thank you to Fuji Australia for sending this and a couple of their other lenses, as well as the Fuji X-T4 out for a full review. So if you're into camera reviews, I'll be definitely posting more videos coming up. Now I'm a Panasonic user first and foremost. I've got a GH5, a GH5S, and a couple of their G85. So going over to a different system was fun and different, and I got some really great results with this lens and camera combination. Just to let you know, Fuji aren't compensating me in any way when it comes to this video. I don't get to keep this stuff, nor are they paying me in addition to make this video. So I'm going to give all of this stuff back, unfortunately, because some of it is pretty damn cool. Let's cover some of the technical specifications when it comes to this Fuji lens. So this is a 23mm f1.4 lens. Fuji X-T4 is a crop sensor APS-C camera, and that translates to roughly a 35mm f2.1 lens on a full frame camera. The benefit of this particular prime lens and field of view is you can still get great separation from the background, and it will allow you to still get in close, but if you want a wide angle shot of what's going on around you, you can do that as well. So as a prime lens, it's very versatile. Being that this lens can go anywhere between f16 and f1.4, at the open end, it can be great for low light conditions as well as mixed lighting conditions. I had a chance to test this out in the gym shooting my friend Herbie, so thank you so much, mate, for letting me do that, and it worked great. If you like to shoot in low light conditions, the f1.4 aperture is fantastic, and it will also click all the way down to f16. While this lens feels like an absolute tank in the hand, it only weighs 300 grams or 10.5 ounces. One of the ways they keep the weight down is they only use a single aspherical element internally. Fuji state that the EBC coating on this lens will help reduce ghosting and flare, which I can absolutely say that it does. This lens does not have a problem with flaring in my tests, both outside and indoors. When it comes to the sharpness of the 23mm f1.4, this is a prime lens at its best. I love the results I saw with this, both indoors and outdoors. Now this is the first lens that I've used that has a focus clutch like this. So if you have it in the up position, you're going to be shooting in autofocus mode and letting the camera do the work. And this does a great job for autofocus. Secondly, you can click it down and then use this as a manual focus lens. Now, I found this to be really usable in manual focus, but it works so great in autofocus mode for a lot of those gimbal shots that I just let the camera and the lens do the work, and it did an extremely good job. When it comes to the minimum focusing range of this lens, it will work down to 28 centimeters, which is 11.02 inches. Now this lens is coated with what they call the HT-EBC. This is a high transmittant electron beam coating. Now while this sounds extremely technical, this coating works to protect the front lens surface as well as reduce lens flares and ghosting in order to provide a more contrast-rich imagery. The images I got outside at the beach looked extremely good. I was just blown away by the out of camera color on vivid mode. It looked beautiful. When it comes to gimbal shooters, I would highly recommend using this with the X-T4 or X-T3. Now the autofocus performance was fantastic, so I just relied on that anytime I was using the gimbal, and it worked great, and it wasn't even close to the maximum payload of this particular DJI Ronin. So keep that in mind. You always want to double check the weight of your gimbal, its capabilities as well, but it was probably one of the easiest experiences using the gimbal. Up next, I want to show you a comparison video between this 23mm f1.4 Fuji lens on the X-T4 up against my GH5 with the 25mm f1.7. Now, these aren't apples to apples lenses or anything like that, but you'll get a sense of how the look changes between each of the camera systems, as well as how much sort of background blue we get. In this test, I have both cameras set to automatic mode. The Panasonic GH5 is using the 25mm f1.7 lens, and the Fuji is using the 23mm f1.4. Now, there's a clear difference in the background blur as well as the color, but I think both cameras look great. The GH5S has a really premium look to it, as does the Fuji X-T4. This test was just a basic comparison between a less expensive lens on another system and that of the Fuji X-T4 using this prime lens. I'd also be interested to see which one you like the best and why in the comments section. Now, the autofocus isn't perfect all of the time. I think that's more inherent to the camera, and I'm going to talk about that more in the X-T4 review. Now, when it comes to people who are doing vlogging, this is about a 35mm equivalent, which is starting to get in kind of tight on the crop. So if that's the look you're going for, it will work. I tested this outdoors using my DJI Ronin S, and the video quality looked amazing. It was great, but it's about as tight of a field of view as you'd probably want for vlogging. So get an extra tripod or an extra selfie stick or something, get the camera out a little bit further, and thanks to the great stabilization within the Fuji X-T4, you'll get some really good results. So when it comes to my overall opinions on the 23mm f1.4 lens, would I recommend this for someone doing video work? Yes. Now, it might be out of some people's price range, and that's understandable as well. It is kind of expensive, but it's worth it. If you're going to invest in one good prime lens, this would definitely be a great choice. Now, if you want the 50mm equivalent, then this isn't the right lens for you, but for what I like, being that I've been shooting in that similar focal range now for years, this is my favorite prime lens angle, 35mm. You can't really go too far wrong. It's a great lens for doing just about everything. You get that great separation of the background, being that it's got that 1.4 aperture. You get great background blur. It's great for low light filming or photography if you're into photography as well. So overall, this would be a great video lens. Thanks again for watching, folks. My name's Shane. If you're into camera and audio video equipment reviews and tutorials, don't forget to subscribe and click the bell. I have more stuff coming up. Thanks again to Fuji for sending out their X-T4, this lens, and a couple of their Fujinon lenses. If you want to see reviews of these coming up, as well as the camera, don't forget to subscribe and click that bell. Thanks again. Catch you soon. See ya.